Hello my lovelies, welcome and welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are all doing well. I'm actually greeting you from my bed today, which is very exciting. Look at this, isn't this fun? I realised I hadn't done a bit of a Q&A in a very long time, and I just felt like we needed a bit of a catch up. I needed to sit down, ask you guys questions and see what you want to know, see what we want to talk about. This could be a juicy one, so I'm bracing myself. But I feel like we need this. I feel like I've done quite a few vlogs recently, which I love. You guys that watch my vlogs literally know me better than anyone else, but this way we can get to know each other a little bit more. This kind of video literally takes me back to like the early days of YouTube, which is so silly. Q&As are still a thing, aren't they? I don't know, we needed a chat. I honestly haven't even looked at the questions, so right now I'm just going off first impressions. If you could give one piece of advice for someone recovering from an ED, what would it be? That's a really good question, but also a really hard one. My main piece of advice to somebody with an ED, at least from my experience, it would honestly be to remember that every time you decide to fight against your ED thoughts or do something against what your ED makes you believe, you are one step closer to full freedom. Every time you get an ED thought and you give in to that, every time you take a step on that scale, every time you don't have that chocolate bar when you want that chocolate bar, every time you do anything that is fueled by your eating disorder and you give in to that and you listen to those thoughts and you respond to those thoughts in the way that it wants you to, it's gonna be so much harder to come back from that, because although it's difficult in the moment, it's then going to be more difficult the next time you have an ED thought to then go against that one, because the last time you listened to that one and you let that one win, you know? So what I'm trying to say is to be as consistent as possible and remember that the steps forward are hard, but they're so worth it. And when you do give in to an ED thought, they actually make so much more of a difference than what you might realize. So be consistent and listen to your gut. Do what's right, because deep down you know. Someone said, did you take a break from exercising to get your period back? You're amazing, girl. Thank you so much, you're amazing too. Did I take a break from exercising to get my period back? I'm trying to think whereabouts in my recovery I actually got my period back and if I was exercising or not. Overall, I stopped exercising completely, and then even when I did go back into exercise when I was in recovery, or at least I thought I was out of recovery, or like, you know, at the point where exercise could be healthy, I actually did exercise for like a good few months before I then actually stopped exercise altogether, even like going on a walk or whatever, because it just became clear to me that exercise, even though I was telling myself it was healthy, it wasn't for me. And so even though I didn't want to, and even though it was really hard to let go of and it felt really wrong and not okay, I didn't exercise until I genuinely felt like I could go to the gym, or I could go and do sport, or I could go and work out and not feel like it was disordered and not feel like it was in a way of changing my body or burning calories or anything like that. But in order to get my period back from that perspective, I genuinely can't remember whereabouts in my journey I was with that. This is editing Brooke, and I now remember that I was not exercising when I got my period back in ED recovery, so yeah. But if you are going to the gym or you're exercising or doing any sort of physical activity with the mindset of the way that your body looks, or disordered thoughts towards your body, or you're feeling negatively about yourself and anything like that, then I would recommend stopping all exercise until you gain a better relationship with your body in general overall, and then maybe in a couple of months then go and try out a gym session or go and try out a run or whatever, and see if you can get through that session without it feeling negative, feeling like you're excited to move your body because of your health reasons and because it gets you outdoors, or whatever that reason may be. Just something that's not about the way your body looks or the amount of calories you're burning. We lose our period because we're not fueling ourselves enough. If we don't have enough energy stored in our body, I actually lost my period when I wasn't underweight. I was actually deemed as a healthy weight. So if you don't have your period, please remember that it's just so important to keep fueling yourself, because if you don't have that fuel in your body is literally using every last drop of energy that it has inside of you. And so the fact that women technically are created with the function of being able to give birth, and that just being kind of like something that just happens every single month, we have our cycle, that is something that every single woman will have. To not have that is a big deal. To not have enough energy to allow that function to happen, that's a really big deal. And it's really important to focus on balancing your hormones and making sure that everything is working healthily, and that if you want to have kids in the future, that you you have the opportunity to, and there'll be so many other health implications that you won't be benefiting from losing your period. So please make sure you're fueling yourself enough. How often do you eat out? Good question. In this 75 hard challenge, I've been trying to focus on eating more home cooked meals and more protein, more veg and all that, because I eat out so often. Honestly, it used to be like every day, and then like 50% of the week it would be like twice a day, which is so unsustainable money wise and time wise. Now I probably eat out like 4 days a week, I'd say, which is a lot. I know some weeks it might be 5, I'll be honest. I'm trying to cut it down because I feel like it's better to get in a routine of trying new recipes, cooking new things, going to the shop and buying myself things, because it all stemmed originally from feeling overwhelmed with supermarkets and having to make decisions based on what I want to buy and what I want to cook, and then the cooking experience being really stressful because of my eating disorder, and then feeling like I have to have this perfect setup and everything. And although that might not be the case for everybody with an eating disorder, for me eating out was kind of safe for me, and eating at home was difficult and stressful. And so as I've kind of gone through my journey of ED recovery, even though I'm not scared to eat at home anymore, it's almost just become a convenience thing now that I'm so used to eating out. It's so not in my routine to go to the shops and go buy food and cook a meal at home. It just feels so much easier to be like, oh, just go and get chicken wings. Just go and get chicken wings from like the pub. I don't know, I just need to get out of that habit and create a new habit and like have a balance of both, because I think a balance in every aspect of your life is so important. And I'd never cut out eating out completely. Like, I just don't think that's in me anyway, even if I wanted to. Just to be able to have a bit more of a balance, and I think that will help my bank account as well. What time do you normally wake up? I am trying to wake up a little bit earlier, not because I think there's anything wrong with waking up late, but just because I feel like I am quite an anxious person, in the sense that when the day feels like it's getting on or whatever, it makes me so anxious, and I feel like I want to allow myself just a couple more hours in the morning. Even though I'll go to bed a couple of hours earlier, I feel like I'll be able to get a little bit more done and feel not as stressed about when the day is like getting on and it's getting later and I haven't done as much or whatever. Hopefully I can just use a couple of hours in the morning to be my most productive, and then even if the rest of the day isn't that productive, at least I can be like, oh, the first 2 hours was really productive. But generally speaking, I'd say about 8:30. My goal is to be a 7 a.m. riser. I think a 7 a.m. riser is a really good time. I know some people are crazy and wake up at like 5 a.m. I used to wake up at 9:30 and then I went to 9, and now I'm a little bit more of like an 8:30, 8:45. If I haven't had much sleep the night before, I will set an alarm for 9:10. Like, I'm not super strict on like 8:30. Like, if I get to bed really late, I will just wake up like 30 minutes later or whatever. So I'm not super strict on it, but I would love to be 7 a.m. I feel like 7 a.m. is a good time, even though that seems super early to me now. I know in the grand scheme of things it's actually really not that early. Yeah, I'm gonna try and be a 7 a.m. girly this year, but absolutely no pressure. Like, maybe for like a month I'll be like 8:30, and then the next month I'll be like 8:15 or whatever. Like, not that I'll even track it, but maybe if I can just try and focus on getting to bed a little bit earlier, then naturally I will be okay with waking up a bit earlier, you know? Someone said your experience with the pill. I actually have never been on the pill. I was gonna say controversial, but I guess it's not actually, because a lot of people are on the pill, a lot of people aren't on the pill. Everybody has different experiences, what they hear, decisions, whatever. But for me, I know what I'm like with my hormones and mental health and all that stuff. And I just thought it'd be better for me to not go on the pill, because you hear so many horror stories, and I know you can go on one for a while and then go on another one if it doesn't work for you, and then change it up and try a different one if it doesn't work for you and whatever. But one, it stresses me out having to look into that and do my research and whatever. Two, I just don't want to mess with my hormones anyway. If I can find a natural contraception that's not going to mess with my hormones, then I absolutely will. I was really debating the pill, the implant, the patch, the injection. I think, what was the one I was most likely to do? I was just basically looking for the one that had the least side effects, because that scared the shit out of me. I'm such a reactive person to absolutely everything, mentally and physically, in terms of like feeling tired, getting headaches, like, and also with my mental health, like me getting low and like all this. I just thought like, I don't want anything to be triggered. And I also thought like, my hormones are meant to be healthy, and I absolutely don't judge or think badly of anybody that has a hormonal contraception, because everything works differently for everybody, and I think it's amazing that people find what works for them. But for me, being a little bit of an overthinker and just wanting to go on something more natural, even though I really didn't want to wait on the wait list, I was really scared, because I also heard loads of horror stories about the coil. I actually have the coil. I was really scared because you hear so many scary things, that it hurts so bad and like things go wrong with it, but it's the only non-hormonal contraception. It's because it's copper. There is a hormonal coil, but I have the non-hormonal one, so it's the copper coil. And honestly, it's been absolutely amazing. I'd say I've had it for about a year now, and you can literally just leave it in for like 10 years before you even have to like get anything done again. I literally don't feel it. I don't even know it's in me. Like, I don't know anything. The process is pretty invasive because you do kind of just have to sit there with like your legs open and be like, hi. And it does feel a little bit awkward, especially because I'm a young girly and I've never had like a smear test done or anything like that. And like, it was really awkward actually, because I was in the doctor's room and there's like a little curtain sectioning off the bed where you get it done within the room. And so she was like, right, you know, take off your bottom half of your clothes and like sit on the bed and with your legs like this, and then call me when you're ready. So then I was actually lying there with like my legs like this, like everything open, and then I just have to be like, I'm ready. And she walks in, I'm just there like I would rather, if anything, her stand there while I get dressed and get into position, because I feel like then at least she can like see the process. Like, that's less awkward, you know? And also I found it awkward because she had like an assistant or whatever with her. It was really lovely. Like, she was talking to me and just like asking about like life and having general chit chat, and it just made it more awkward because I was like, can we just embrace that this is a little bit uncomfortable? Like, you know, I literally have my full-on foof out in front of you right now. I don't want to be talking about like my family and like things that are happening, even though I know they see like a million foofs a day and it's really not that big of a deal, and that's why I was so okay with it. That was a little bit scary, the whole idea of it, since I've never done anything like that, but then also just like checking into reality that, you know, it's really not that big of a deal and they do it like a million times a year. Other than that, it was literally just like a pinch. Not a pinch, okay, it was like a big old squeeze. Felt weird, like something I've not really felt before, but other than that, then it was all over and done with and it was absolutely fine. Other than that, my first like 2 periods afterwards were like Niagara Falls, and I'm not even exaggerating. I'd put in a tampon and it would be so heavy that I'd have to take the tampon straight out. But then again, I am a heavy flow gal in general, so I don't know if that has an effect. But since then, they've kind of calmed down back to what they have been before. But a lot of people say their periods actually then aren't as heavy when they're on the copper coil, and maybe mine is a little bit, but I'm not that like observant. Like, I wouldn't notice things like that, you know, unless it was like significant. But yeah, unfortunately I can't tell you about my experience on the pill, but I can tell you about my experience on contraception, so I hope that's helped. Do you ever worry about the future? I think this is a good question. I do, but not long term. I don't stress about me when I'm like 40. For reference, I'm 19. I don't stress about me when I'm like an adult, you know? I stress about, oh, I don't even stress, I don't worry. I get a bit nervous that I'm not gonna complete what I want. I'm not gonna see the things I wanna see. I'm not gonna do the things that I've always wanted to do. And I know that's just a me problem. Like, if you're worried about them, go freaking do them. But then I'm also just a girl. Like, I'm just scared. I don't really have the people to go do certain things with. Then you could say, well, go do it, you're on your own. And then I'm like, well, I'm scared. Like, what if it's not as good on your own? What if it's not what I wanted it to be on my own? And then I'm worried that like I'm putting it off because I deep down feel like it's not going to be as good as what I hope in my head, and then all these things. And when I say that, I mean like traveling, moving out alone, moving out with Ben, like moving to a different city, starting up a business, like so many things like that I know I should just do. And it's not even like I'm putting it off, but it's like I'm just waiting for the right time. I preach all the time, kind of having a bit of a therapy session with myself right now. I preach all the time, there's never going to be a right time, so just do it and don't think about it. So I do think I just need to bite the bullet and do it. But then I'm also like, oh, but money, like flights are really expensive, this is really expensive, like how can I justify that? But then I'm like, you're young and you only get one life once, and like, if not now, then when, you know? You can really see like the little angel and devil on my shoulders. But I do feel, I feel like there's a better time. But then again, if not now, then when, you know? Someone's asked for my body measurements. Girl, come on now. We don't do that around here. Plans for this year: vacations, trips, work, etc. I am actually doing a really exciting shoot on Friday, which is very new to me. And it's not like a picture shoot, it's like a video shoot, which is very exciting. Oh no, not on Friday, it's on Wednesday. Oh my goodness, which is in 2 days. And I'm really nervous, but it's really exciting because it's with a brand that I literally religiously use every like other day, and I have done since I've been like 13, so that's incredible. It's also on something that is so me and so my brand and so everything that I would love to do. Like, it's like a dream come true, and I'm so excited to get on there and talk and discuss and all things like that. I'm nervous because it's new to me, but I think that's nerves and excitement, you know, and it's going to be great, and I can't wait to look back on it and be really proud of myself. My sister's getting married next year, so we are going on the hen do this year. I'll probably end up having a couple more holidays, which is really exciting. I have nothing in mind, but I do want to do a solo trip this year, whether that's like just somewhere in Europe or whether that's like to freaking like Australia or like LA or whatever. I don't know. I want to do it. I want to do something and just let that guard down of the money and the barriers. I want to go out of my comfort zone and try something out, because you don't know until you try, right? How do I become confident in my mid-sized body and accept it for what it is? Being a mid-sized girly is hard. It's hard, you know, because there are societal standards that have been set, and that is, you know, a smaller build, and I would never want to invalidate any body type. Everybody can have their issues, everybody can struggle, everybody can lack self-confidence or have body dysmorphia. There isn't one body type that struggles more than others, you know, but it can feel hard to fit into some sort of category. Not that I think there are categories, but you're not super curvy, but then you're not Kendall Jenner, you know? You're kind of like this in between that a lot of people call like skinny fat. I don't know. For me, a lot of love has come from the exercise that I do, and I think that can differ for everybody. That could be completely toxic for some people and actually just make them focus more on what their body looks like and the effects exercise has on their body or whatever. But for me, I think I do train a lot of the time for performance-based reasons, and so the things that my body can achieve when working out makes me feel good about myself and makes me feel proud and accomplished, and those things just make me really happy and actually appreciate what my body can do and how amazing my body is. And also, not that I think something huge has to happen in order for you to build self-love, but when I went in the car crash and my body was absolutely ripped to shreds and everything else that was involved, seeing how quickly and how well my body has recovered from the state that it was in, that made me super appreciative for my body, to be like, oh my freaking god. First of all, it could have been taken from me like that. You never think you're going to be the person to get in a near-death experience. Like, you really don't. You think they're just stories that you hear about, not ones you could ever be included in. But the truth is that we all have the same chance, as morbid as that sounds. And so when that really horrible car accident happened to me, that really changed my perspective. And not only did it make me grateful for so much more around me and so much more in my life, it made me so much more appreciative for my body and how freaking incredible human bodies really are, and what they do for you without you even having to think about it, and how it's just so cool, you know, and how things don't really matter. Having chub on you doesn't matter, because society said you should have a tiny little tummy. That doesn't mean you have to have a tiny little tummy, and like, it's not that deep. We're just humans trying our best. Live a lifestyle that you love and let your body be a product of that lifestyle. Me exercising and eating intuitively, fueling my body, resting when I need it, all these things, that is a lifestyle that I love, and this is the body I have because of it. And if that's not a good enough reason to love your body, then what is? If you're gonna live a lifestyle for years on end that actually just gets more draining and tiring and exhausting and difficult to live because you want to look a certain way, you're never going to be happy with that body, because the days you're living every single day to look like that are miserable, you know? Even if you struggle to love yourself when your days are amazing, at least you can be like, well, I live an amazing life, instead of hating your days and your body. I don't know. Remember that you're the person that's going to have your back the most, and by showing love to your body every single day, you show love to yourself in so many other ways as well by doing that, mentally and physically. Fake it till you make it. It sounds silly, but it's true. Try not to body check. Try not to look at yourself and pose and suck things in and squidge things, and every time you look in the mirror, make sure to buy clothes that genuinely fit you. Don't try and fit yourself into clothes that are too tight. Fit clothes that genuinely fit you. Buy clothes that make you feel good and that you feel comfortable and confident in. You don't have to wear something if you don't feel great in it. But most of all, just remembering that you're not a doll and you don't need to fit into society standards. It's actually pretty cool to be confident about that and rock that. And lastly, I just wanted to quickly touch on the fact that I'm doing 75 hard after having a past with bad relationship with food and eating disorder, because I know I did have a lot of comments and messages and everything in between about how it's really disordered and toxic, and that I definitely shouldn't be promoting it and everything. I first of all do just want to say sorry to anybody that I upset or offended or triggered or made afraid, question my journey or question your own journey or anything like that. I would never ever want to make anybody feel like they should do a challenge or do something in their life that they're not ready for or isn't right for them or is toxic to them. I've had such an ongoing battle since ED recovery and since gaining a better relationship with food and exercise, with posting my exercise and posting that I want to actually eat out less and have more home cooked meals, and I do want to focus on purposefully adding more meat and like protein and veg to my diet, because I'm worried that if people think I'm thinking about my diet and what I'm consuming and moving my body, that it's in a toxic way, when I know it's not. But I know myself 3 or 4 years ago, and I know that if I saw someone saying that when I was in the mindset that was so toxic and disordered, I wouldn't be able to see it from any other way and I wouldn't believe it, you know. But then I also know, and I don't want this to come across wrongly, that I'm not responsible. This feels awful to say. I'm not responsible for other people's triggers, and I will always be mindful of other people's triggers. I would never shove anything in anyone's face or judge anybody. And my goal completely is to create a safe space for each and every single person that watches me and supports me and enjoys my content. That is the #1 goal for me, just to create a place where people can come onto my channel or my account and just feel good. And the thought of someone not feeling good really deeply hurts me. But I completely understand if anybody needs to unfollow, mute my accounts or anything, because everybody's at different stages in their journey, everybody feels differently towards things. But I do just want you all to know that exercising is my favorite thing ever for the best reasons ever. Trust me when I tell you I'm not restricting. Also, that this challenge is absolutely not to do with the way that my body looks, just to do with mental health and see what I'm capable of, setting myself a challenge, getting myself out of a bit of a rut that I'm struggling with at the minute, trying new things and trying to create new habits that I've been trying to for quite a while. I know 75 hard can have bad connotations around it, and I didn't really realise that until I started this challenge, and a lot of people were saying that it's so toxic, and I didn't really understand that. But I guess it has negative connotations around it. It's not being used in a negative way by me. As long as I know that, that's the main thing. But I hope you guys know that too. Other than that, I am gonna love and leave you all. I hope you've all enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed our catch up. You can listen to my podcast for mental health chats, advice, tips on literally everything. I talk about something new every single week. You can learn more about me on there. It's called Positively Me on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's in my description box below, as well as all my other social medias, which is just Brooke Painting on every single social media. So TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on this video, and I hope to see you next week. Bye, angels. See you soon.